That's all busy work that keeps you broke. There's two ways to grow a business. You can grow a busy business that keeps you broke, or you can grow a smart business that actually changes your life and helps you to create generational wealth. I want you to give them success. No, baby, you got to get down and grind. Like it's going to be some paperwork. It's going to be some red tape that you got to comb through. It takes work. By doing the work, because that's the most things that people don't want to do. They don't want to do the work. Just don't think that somebody's going to give you a result. You have to invest in yourself. Then you have to do the work. You have to show up. You have to be responsible, right?
Time versus money. I always say this all the time to people. I said, you got to pay the piper no matter what. You're either going to pay with time or you're going to pay with money. Wes Fisher here. Welcome back to the next episode of the Winner Circles. I like to bring winners on, just in life in general and also in government contracting. And as you can see next to me, I got the legend, Dr. Kuana in the building. Been doing government contracting for years, killing the game, and I'm looking forward for you guys to hear her story.
Hey, what's up? You already know what it is. It's Dr. Karwanna D, your GovCon expert. I'm here with the #1, Dr. Wes Fisher. Y'all already know he is killing it in the government contracting space. So stay tuned. We're going to have a conversation and let y'all, a little bit of secret, what's going on in the government contracting landscape. So make sure you tune in because it's going to be fire.
Let's get it. So, Dr. Kuana, we talked last night. If you guys don't know, we're part of a mastermind or a group, and I was watching your interview with Kissy Parks, and you guys talked about training, and you were talking about the reason why you have all these coaches and things of that nature. So that's just amazing. But I want to say your story, though. Your story is amazing. I want people to hear it.
Yeah.
How did you get started, like, just in government contracting? I know we talked about it last night at dinner, but tell the people, like, what's your story?
So I was like most small business owners, right? Trying to figure out how to really grow a business while not employed by other people. So basically self-employed, and trying to figure out how to actually do that in a sustainable way to where it actually makes sense. For the first few years in business, I unfortunately followed the industry standards of how you really grow a business from the bottom up. And that's exactly what happened. I actually grew my business from the bottom, but the bottom wasn't paying the bills, So I was working really hard. I think I brought the whole, how they talk about if you start a business with the employee mindset, then it's going to be really challenging for you. I think I brought the whole employee mindset over to my business, because I thought that if you work really hard, work really long hours, and that's going to reflect in the success of the business. But it turns out that it really didn't. Actually, I found myself working like 50 to 70 hour work weeks, but I was barely making ends meet. I was barely bringing in about 30,000 or so a year, working really full time. My spouse at the time would look at me like, what's going on? What you do with all your time? Because the money ain't adding up. It wasn't adding up. And it wasn't until I actually met a really amazing African-American general contractor who was a
billionaire with a B.
With a B.
Okay.
And we had went to church together. It's funny because I didn't even know that he was so successful in business. I had no clue what the type of money that he was making until I started doing freelance work for him. So I do photography services, I do video production. So I do like multimedia. And so he hired me to do some multimedia portfolio building and things of that nature for him. And so while in the office, I'm looking at these checks coming in. I'm like, dude, like, how did you do that? What's going on? Like, you're a billionaire? So I was just like, I took a serious look at him and I asked him, like, how did you do it? And then the one moment that changed my life was the moment where he said, the same thing that you're doing for me, you can actually do for the government, and they will pay you simply because you're a woman, and then not to mention you're a Black woman and you're from this hub zone. I had no idea what he was talking about. In fact, the first thing that came to mind was government. I'm thinking about the feds. I'm thinking about the service. I'm thinking about all the
FBI and ammo.
All that stuff.
Yeah, all this other stuff out there. Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
But I took it serious because I'm getting advice from somebody who's where I would like to be. And so I figured it out. I figured out exactly how to actually position myself to start winning. I didn't win at first because I did it backwards. I did everything completely wrong because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no blueprint. There
Right.
was no blueprint in the marketplace, right?
Hey.
So, but when I cracked the code, I actually
That's right.
landed my first contract, and it was like double what I was making, working really hard with the employee mindset. And I was able to do that in a very short period of time. So in 28 days of working, I secured my $70,000 contract.
$70,000 contract.
For a week worth of services, right? For just a week worth of services.
Yes.
So it was just amazing. It changed my life.
And people got to understand. So you were expert in photography and website design and media. So you just did that for the government. You're like, I already know how to do this. I'm already charging $30K a year.
Yeah.
Or making $30K a year. You make $70K in 28 days. That's right. Doing it for the government.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. The fact that you did it, because I'm always teaching people the minimum. That's like my angle, but I always want people to know that
there's
other strategies as well, and actually doing the work. That's $70K. That's you.
Yeah.
Did you have a team, or was it just you?
No, it was just me, and it's still primarily just me. And my husband goes out.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy because the first contract that I landed, it was like in a construction field, and it was like taking photos of construction sites. And I had never been on a construction site. In fact, I'm the lady that wear heels all the time. So, I was like, can I wear heels on a construction site? Like, for real?
Do you have a hard hat?
I had to have a hard hat, all the PPE gear, the steel-toe boots. You got to have the safety glasses and the vest. I'm like, hey, this is my ugly day. I got to just go make money on this is what money look like. This is like,
it's what money is like. You out there taking pictures.
Yeah, you out there.
These pictures like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to take some time to invite you to join me in the GovCon Challenge. The GovCon Challenge takes place once a month, where I invite a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to come and have me teach you the 5 things you must do to pre-qualify your business to land lucrative contracts with the government. So join me in the GovCon Challenge. Click on the link in the description. You'll be glad you did. Join as VIP for exclusive behind-the-scenes information, and you could become a part of the top 1% of entrepreneurs across the nation. Now back to the video you were watching.
So I didn't know the first thing about blueprints. And so that's why I brought my husband with me, because he's a general contractor. And so he helped me understand how to read the blueprints of where to actually take these pictures.
So they just put you on a site and said, take pictures.
Yeah. So it was,
but they didn't really tell you, like, okay, take pictures of what?
Because they assumed that, right? But they were very helpful, because they will assign like a person to walk along to show me the safety zones and, what to look out for and stuff like that. And then they were helpful in just helping me too. But I brought my husband because I wanted somebody to be like, what does that mean? Rebar. We're stepping on rebar. I'm like, what is rebar?
What is rebar? And what does that mean? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Dang.
Yeah.
So that $70K contract, that kind of started. That was your first one. And then where'd you go from there? Was it like a stair step?
Okay, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So what happened was, it was like more like a stacking experience that I had. So I landed the first one, and ideally, because I had never seen so much money in such a short period of time, I actually thought they paid me that on accident. Like, I was like, they approved this? Wait, they're giving me this. This is a check, right? I'm like, let me hurry up and cash this check before they realize that they made a mistake and put an extra zero.
Yeah.
And so that turns out to be, it was on purpose. It was intentional. And they actually do have money for women and minority and just small businesses in general, right? And so I went and repeated the exact same thing that I did to get that contract.
Okay.
So what happened was, I landed another contract simultaneously, and it was for similar days for $60,000. And then I landed another one on top of that for another $65,000. And then I landed another one for $30,000. Then another one and before I knew it, I had a multiple 6-figure business. So I went from $30,000 a year struggling, trying to figure out how to make ends meet, to multiple 6 figures in a very short period of time. And the only thing that I did was listen and took action on something that everybody else know. Like, when I say everybody else, the multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, they already know that they can do business with the government. Many of them already have contracts with the government, but it was the biggest kept secret. And that's why I coined my trainings. Like, at the time, I was like, this is the biggest kept secret to government contracts. It's $1 trillion secret.
And in your training, you said the government's got your money, or is your book?
Yeah,
What's your book title?
So I have a book. It's called Don't Duck the Government. They
got your money.
And it's all about how you can make millions pitching and winning government contracts.
Exactly. And that's your bread and butter. You showed it. Hey, they got my money. They got my money. So that next year, so you made $30K in photography. When you got done with your next year, how much did you make to work with the government?
So approximately about the first year of like really doing this, approximately just under a $500,000.
$500,000.
So just under a $500,000. And the numbers began to grow and to grow. But the crazy part about it all is that I didn't even know that there's no limit, right? I realized that there's no limit to government contracts and
$1 trillion industry, right?
It's multi-trillion dollar industry.
$multi-trillion.
And then when I actually started continuing to I figured out the steps to actually doing it, and I just started rinsing and repeating it. And before I knew it, I had 12 to 13 contracts simultaneously.
Wow.
And I was just like, at some point, I'm like, it's a lot.
Because you was implementing all of it yourself.
I was still doing the work myself. I eventually started bringing my husband on, so he became very helpful. Then I started getting independent freelancers to outsource some of the work. But it's just the best kept secret.
And it started 2012.
So it started around 2012, 2013. Yeah. So
yeah. And fast forward to now is man. So now obviously people know we say you're helping others now. You're helping other people get to that point. I guess what made you transition to that? What made you go, you know what? It's the best kept secret. Let me start transitioning. Let me start helping people do this. What made you do that?
I can remember just growing up, period. I've always been a helper. Just the gift of helps, right? So I always knew that I had the gift of help. I love helping people. I love transforming lives. Even when I had nothing, I would do things for people that weren't able to do it. They weren't able to do it for themselves. And I had nothing. So I've always been a giver. So even before learning government contracts and becoming a coach in that particular space, I was learning how to leverage your credit to create wealth. I was learning those. I was learning how I read a book by Kevin Trudeau. It was called Debt Cures. How to get rid of debt.
Okay.
And he was talking about money they don't want you to know about. And so I learned how to get free money. And so I started telling other people about that. So I was already telling people how to start a business, how to do all these things. So this was just one other thing. Oh my God.
Let me tell you about this.
Thing.
Yeah.
This one right here will change your life. And so that's how I evolved into the coaching space. And I just started wanting to help people change their lives the way that government contract changed my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think you, even to this day, you're like, hey, Wesley, tell me about this accreditation. You just got
Better Business
Bureau, improve, all these different things. There's so many plays that you told me. I'm just like, what? What's this play?
Yeah.
How does this work? How can you? So you are a helping person. You're sharing person. I appreciate that.
And the crazy thing about it is most people are intimidated to talk to other people that are in their space. But in this space, it's just, it's better to connect. Wesley, you and I, we connect. We bounce ideas off each other. We share information that can help each other. So there's enough money out here for everybody to eat, especially when it comes to government contracts. And I believe that we're better together.
Absolutely.
Rather than, they do the same thing. It's a competition. It's not a competition.
No.
You got to, at some point, get rid of the crab in a bucket mentality and understand that there's collaborative wealth. But in order to go after that, you got to be able to go after it together.
Amen. That's
so
awesome.
Tell me how, so I know that you're doing amazing things in this space.
Thank you.
When did you actually get started with government contracts?
So for me, it's about 3 years ago. As I told people, I was a school teacher. I was teaching special education. I was working as a school teacher for 8 years. And that was my career. I went to school. I got my bachelor's, got my master's degree in special ed. And that's all I did. And I was working with kids with autism. I was working with kids on the spectrum. And that's all I did. But I knew I wanted more. I knew even in college, I want to be a entrepreneur. I want to make money. And I did the network marketing thing. And I had a little bit of success here and there, but it was just it wasn't mine.
Right.
So I'm like, I got to find something. And it was funny, up until COVID happened, or actually a little bit before COVID, I was still looking for something. So I was looking at pallet flipping. I went and bought a truck and I was like a 4840 pallet. I went out there and was out there grabbing pallets, selling them for $3. I bought a course. The course is $5,000, but I made a bunch of money just doing pallet flipping.
Wow.
So that was cool, but I knew that skill set wasn't for me because, in Ohio, it get cold. So when the winter came, I was like, my back hurt,
my
neck
working.
hurt. No, exactly. And then when I travel, I'm like, when I travel, my truck wasn't moving. So I said, okay, I got to do something that I can't always have to be there for. So I looked at affiliate marketing, I looked at Amazon, I looked at Airbnb, I looked at all the, and nothing wrong. There's a millionaire in every single industry. I always tell people that. There's a millionaire in every single, there's 1,000,001 ways to make $1 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just that once I saw my friend Jason White and he was teaching government contracting, and I said, let me pull up. So I went to a conference on government contracting and I said, wait a minute. I can be a middleman doing this as
Doing
well.
this,
Like I
yeah.
can be at home. I can coordinate with subs. I can work with people and actually do this.
Yep.
I said, no ways. 30 days later, I won my first contract.
And what was it? What was the amount? What was the amount of that contract?
Here's a funny story. It was
Okay.
not like you. I was
Okay, no,
70K.
okay.
I ain't made no 70K.
Okay.
But the mindset, my first contract was for Catholic services
Mhm.
in a federal prison in California.
Oh, wow.
And I always tell people, I'm not Catholic.
Yeah.
And I don't live in California like
Exactly,
you. I
yeah.
don't live in California.
Yeah.
But what I did was I called a bunch of Catholic churches.
Yeah.
They said, no, we don't have a priest. No, we don't have a priest. Hey, call the Catholic diocese. I
Okay.
said, what's a diocese? 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what that is. They said,
Yeah.
oh, just call this number. I called the diocese says, call the prison ministry.
Okay.
I said, well, I guess there would be a prison ministry. So I called the prison ministry. They said, Chaplain Risher, he does the prison across the street.
What?
He love to do that prison.
Yeah.
I said, okay, what's Chaplain Risher's number?
Perfect match.
Call
right?
him up. He told me the deal. I told him how much you charge. And again, I didn't make a lot of money because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
just like, it's $25 an hour. I said, all right, I'll charge the government 30. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
I was just like,
But it's still, you made the transaction, so it doesn't matter. You even if you didn't make what you wanted to make, now that you know what's possible,
exactly.
you still made money. So that proves that it worked.
And that's what it was. It was
Yeah.
all about proof.
Yeah.
I sent the government the information. The government said, we need the resume
Mhm.
of the person doing these Catholic services.
Yeah.
They got to be an ordained person.
Yeah.
I'm like, Wesley, I'm a school teacher. I'm not ordained.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
a priest.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
find out in the middleman concept, they can assume the past performance of your sub.
Yeah.
Here's his resume. Government says, okay, on a Monday, they got it. On a Friday, I won the contract.
That's good.
I was like,
Wow.
get out of here.
That's
5-year contract. And again, he only worked a couple hours a
Mhm.
week. It ain't a lot of money, but I was like,
Game over.
like
Yeah.
that worked.
Yeah.
And I never even been there. I still, to this day, I've never seen a prison.
Never.
I've never been there.
Yeah.
I'm
Wow.
only talking to Chaplain Richard on the phone. Never met
Yeah.
him in person.
It's just so amazing.
Yeah.
It's crazy the things that you can do. And I'm glad that you mentioned that the first contract was small.
It's small.
But you've gone on to
Yes.
win larger, bigger,
Yes.
better contracts. It's
Yes.
just like you just got to make the decision to get yourself in the game. And that's what's
Yes.
that. Let's talk about that a little bit because I know you work with
Mhm.
clients. Is a lot of you're helping people as well. Like,
yeah.
so what is it that you see in the marketplace that's you feel like people need to know, especially for those who are
Mhm.
like who have been on the fence
Mhm.
and they actually just don't never
Mhm.
make the decision to move forward.
That's good. Yeah, I would say, I always tell people this, like certifications are great.
Yeah.
You do want them at some point. Certifications, women-owned, hub zone, obviously you need a cage code.
Right.
You need all these things that you guys might not know what these are. You need these things.
Yeah.
But you also can start looking at the opportunity.
Yeah.
You can start looking at the website. You can even start calling subcontractors. There's no rule that says I can't call a company and say, hey, how much do you charge for roofing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we charge like this much for roofing. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Now I got some information.
Yeah.
So my thing is, I always tell people in my mentorship and my coaching, just start.
Yeah.
Stop waiting about, I gotta get my website together. Like I've spoken to people that said, I gotta go to my website. I gotta go
Yep.
get this. I
Business
gotta go
card.
get my business. I gotta go get my logo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
like,
you
I don't even have a
You
logo.
don't need none of that
No,
stuff, right?
none of
So
that stuff.
it's funny that you say that because just recently I was doing my 5-day challenge and there was a lady on there. She was like, I'm working on my website. I'm getting business cards. I'm doing this networking event. I'm like, that's all busy work that keeps you broke. There's two ways to grow a business. You can grow a busy business that keeps you broke, or you can grow a smart business that actually changes your life and helps you to create generational wealth. And that's the government contracting space. So what are some of the results that you've seen your clients get that's life-changing? I wish I would have known how to do this like years ago.
I'm going to talk about my top student, Dr. Karen. She was an educator as well. She was an educator. She came to my 5-day challenge. She actually ended up winning her first contract during that 5-day challenge. It was really cool. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. In under a year, she's won 7 contracts, I believe. But her last one, and I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Her last one was for like 13 mil. 13 mil. And I'm dead serious, y'all. She is, I don't know what I can say on the internet, but she's a weapon manufacturer now.
Wow.
It's like the government, the special forces reached out to her. They saw that, man, you did this dry cleaning contract. You did this uniform contract. You're a minority-owned woman. You have all these certifications.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to use you to do this weapons manufacturing for us because we need someone like you to do it.
Yeah.
And she called me freaking out, said, Wes, is this real? Is this real? I'm like, let me see the emails. Let me see the emails. Reading the emails. I'm like,
.mil.gov.
.mil.gov. It was different. It was special forces. I never seen a special forces email. I'm like, oh, that's legit.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, what, FBI
Yeah.
is for real interviewing her doctor.
Yeah.
CIA is interviewing. She's actually going through that stuff. I'm just like, oh, okay. She
It's
on a different level to
different.
me.
It's different, right?
That's a different level.
Yeah.
But it all started with just doing something.
Yeah.
She's a middleman. She started as a middleman. Now she's going to be a prime. She's actually forming the company. It's her company. But it started with her doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to make the decision.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this video and you've been in the government contracting space, like trying to figure out, like I'm just telling you, there are people who are starting today and actually crushing a game in at least 90 days, right? You got to give yourself at least 90 days.
Yeah.
Like, could it happen sooner? Absolutely. But that's a very rare thing, right?
Yeah.
Just imagine by doing the work, because that's the most things that people don't want to do. They don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
They want you to give them success. No,
No.
baby, you got to get down and grind. Like it's going to be some paperwork. It's going to be some red tape that you got to comb through. But $13 million on the other side of that, like, has she never just made the decision to show up for herself and actually invest in herself in the education, the know-how, right?
Exactly.
Then just imagine.
Yeah. Speak to that. I know you have so many coaches. That's what I love about you. You're like, I got coaching for this. I got this. I'm like, I need some coaching to this. Oh yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you get to that mindset to know that, okay, I need to invest in myself in order to really take myself to the next level?
The first coach that I ever had was that I made a big investment in, and I thought it was a big investment at the time. It was 2000, and this is the time when I was still coming out of the employee mindset. I was still coming out of the whole poverty mindset. I'm like, $2,000, that's a lot of money, right?
What? Yeah.
But she was the one, her name is Danielle Leslie, and she was the one teaching people how to actually create coaching programs.
Okay.
And I was like, I need to know how to create a coaching program, right? Because I don't understand it, right? I was doing coaching, but I didn't really have a whole system. I didn't have a whole program. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, even though I was making some money doing it, right? And so I didn't have the money. I didn't, like literally, even though like I had all the money that I was getting in, I was still so used to spending it down. When you grow up poor, you're like, as soon as you get some money, you're like, what can I spend it on? What can I go buy? I'm gonna go buy this. So you end up broke again until you begin to change the pattern. It all really starts with the mindset. So I knew that first investment actually turned within 2 months. It turned from a $2,000 investment, and I had made over $15,000.
Wow.
I was like, something clicked in me. It was just like, I put 2 in, get 15,000 out, and then I go on to continue having $5,000, $10,000, continue. And I'm like, And then it said, like, then I'm a spiritual growth. Then I remember the scripture that says, give and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, run it over. And I applied that to my business. I'm like, giving is the way to receive it, right? So I began to have these aha awakening moments. And so I started to make larger investments. So the next investment I made was $10,000. I actually got over $100,000 out of that
return from that,
And then I made an investment. The biggest investment was like, before I got to that one, I'm going to tell you. Because I know you, right?
Yeah.
Then I made a $55,000 investment. That turned into millions of dollars. And then I made a $200,000 investment. Most people would never spend or invest $200,000.
$200,000.
And it was with Myron Golden for a day.
So, whoa. Y'all hear that?
Okay, now watch this.
Hear that? You spend $200K to spend a day with a person. I've said that to somebody, oh, this person's charging this much for a day. They said for a day. What you get in a day with him?
Yeah.
So you spent a day, but that turned into
over $3.6 million and growing. So you have to invest in yourself. I don't care if it's with myself, with Wes, or with anybody.
It don't matter.
But it takes work. Yeah, you got to do the work, right?
Do the work.
Not only just make the investments, don't think that somebody's going to give you a result.
Yeah.
You have to invest in yourself. Then you have to do the work. You have to show up. You have to be responsible, right? And so I'm an executor. I know you're a fast executor, right? So let's talk about that part. It's just like the execution part. That's how you get the results. So talk about
that's it. Yeah, let me say this real quick with the time versus money. 'Cause I always say this all the time to people. I said, you got to pay the piper no matter what. You either going to pay with time or you going to pay with money. Either way, you got to pay. Either way. It'd be like, hey, if you ain't got the money, okay, cool.
You don't pay with time.
Don't pay with the time.
But the crazy part about paying with time is we only have so much time.
Yes.
And it actually costs you more to pay with time than it does money.
And business people understand that. And again, you might not be a business person, but we're trying to imply this into you and give you this help because, and back to what you said, execution, it's like now when you spend money, you're going to execute.
Or take a loss.
Or take a loss. Like
right?
For me, when I first got started like in coaching, I was with my wife and I had a meeting with our team. And I said, well, not the team, but the salesperson, I said, okay, how much is it? They said 10K. I said, 10K? This is my first higher investment. I'm like, all right, let's do 10K. And my wife is in another room. And I was on a call for 2 hours. She said, you pay that man 10K? I said, yeah. She said, what'd you get? I said, I don't know, but I'm gonna execute on it. I'm gonna make it happen. And I found out, like, after that, I think I had like a fee for, let's say, active campaign or some random app. I'm like, oh, I got to continue to pay money on this thing. I said, I'm going to have to get success, get results. And I told my wife, and there's a lot of people, for the married folks out there, and you're like, oh, my spouse is keeping me back, or my spouse this, my spouse that. Your spouse is doing that because you're not committing. You're not following through. You're not implementing anything. So I told my wife, I said, listen, we're going to spend this 10K, but we're going to make it back. And then like what? That was $1 million, actually. They put it all together. It was just joining. It turned to $1 million in a year.
So that's what? So that's, what is that? 10,000, that's 1,000 X?
I think it's 1,000 X return.
1,000 X
I don't know. Yeah.
Or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, things happen in multiplication, not addition, especially when you apply the work, right?
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. So I always believe that whatever the investment is that you make, and we're talking about investments because you cannot grow a business for free, especially if you want to grow and build a multi-million-dollar business. You're not going to be able to do that for free. You're going to have to break or separate from your money because it's currency and it's a tool, right? So you have to spend it in order to make it grow. But it's just not spending frivolously. You have to actually spend it on things that's going to help you make more money, which is the smart investments that you make.
Absolutely.
And so I say that because I know a lot of times people are just like, they look at the cost of the upfront cost, but then they forget that on the back end, when you do the work, that's 10X.
Absolutely.
That's 10X
or
more.
Right. Our
right?
friend would say, or more.
Or more.
Exactly.
So.
Love it. Love it.
So you definitely got to invest in yourself.
Wow. I think we poured into y'all enough, man. Y'all know what to do. How can they reach out to you?
Okay.
Yeah, how can they reach out to you?
The best way to get into my ecosystem is to actually, so I have a 5-day challenge where I actually walk people through getting themselves pre-qualified for government contracts, right? Because it's a process. And I want people to understand that who they need to become in the process to actually succeed. And so in that 5-day challenge, you learn about how to get qualified, what documents you need, how much money is on the table. There's a lot of things that you learn. And I realize that people who actually have this basic knowledge, they actually can get results much faster.
Awesome.
And so you will go to govconchallenge.com to get yourself registered. Again, that's govconchallenge.com. So make sure you tune in.
Awesome.
What about yourself?
Yeah, for me, I also have a 5-day challenge, 5-day middleman, 5daymiddlemanchallenge.com. Again, I come at a different angle. The thing I love about government contracting is there's so many ways to be successful at it. There's so many avenues. There's so many ways. It's diverse. And that's why it can be hard for people because so many people get on the internet and they go, oh, I saw this, but no, I saw that. But then I saw the website, but then I saw the capability statement, but then I saw a PTAC.
And then I saw that. They like information overload.
Overload. So like for my challenge, like if you guys are interested, feel free, 5daymiddlemanchallenge.com is just, let's focus on just one strategy. Are you interested in the middleman? Come find out about it. Come find out how to do it correctly and appropriately. Because there are ways you can do it wrong. There's ways you can do the middleman strategy that would get you messed up. So you got to be able to do it right. So that's what it is. It's basically introduction that gets you going. And that gets you into the community and checking out. So feel free to check it out. But again, it doesn't matter who you work with. Make a decision and then implement.